Friends, Greg Newmaster coming at you again with another action figure review. Today I have Star Wars The Vintage Collection Darth Vader The Dark Times from the series Obi-Wan Kenobi. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. Help me to get to 1,000 subscribers because it's just a fun goal I have and I love making action figure videos and you people rock. So, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the TV show, very mixed feelings. On the one hand, I was very excited to see it. I really wanted to see Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen on screen again. It's something that's been alluded to for a very long time. I think everybody knew it was going to happen. The rumor mill was going for years. And poor Ewan McGregor had to pretend like he was a loser and that Lucasfilm didn't want him. And as if he was begging for the role. So that was pretty funny when he said that on talk shows. But, and I also wanted to see Hayden Christensen redeem himself. You know, those movies were so hated on, the prequel trilogy, and I understand because original fans had such high expectations, and there was such charisma between the original three characters, Luke, Leia, and Han, played by Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, and the ultimate Harrison Ford. It was really hard to recapture the dynamics and the charisma of that group and the fun and the joy of the original trilogy, where George Lucas was trying to do something totally different with the prequels. So the energy and the tone was very different. The prequels were more political movies, more of a Shakespearean tragedy versus the fun adventure films of the original trilogy. Granted, you know, the prequel trilogy they were fun and they were fascinating. There were cool things that happened, but it was just very different. That being said, people really ripped into Hayden Christensen, and I always felt bad for him, but if you watch a lot of analysis videos, he really was trying to mimic the tone and the cadence of James Earl Jones, and it's not his fault that the dialogue was just terrible, like just such terrible love scenes, which really humiliatingly ruined it for him and for other people. Just in episode 2, just the love scenes versus Padme and Anakin versus Han and Leia are just atrocious. There's no comparison. The Han and Leia, just that charisma, the attraction, the chemistry on screen was totally different. And then they had Irvin Kershner in Empire Strikes Back, really just editing and cutting and directing and just manipulating the dialogue anyhow to make it better. So they were just bad, and it wasn't Hayden Christensen's fault. So anyhow, all that to say, it was great to see him back, and it was a lot of fun. Now on to Darth Vader. That was cool too, that he got to be in the suit, and I love the scenes of him in the bacta tank, and he just looks angry and mean. That was so much fun. It was great to see him in the flashback as episode 2 Anakin, even though he looked older. He looked like he was 40. He didn't look like he was 18. But it was great to see him. And then the final scene of the last episode was so beautiful. It actually choked me up when Obi-Wan and Darth Vader have the exchange, and Obi-Wan had struck Vader in the face and he cracked his mask, just like in Rebels, and you could see Hayden Christensen, Anakin's face, and then there's the contrast between the blue lighting and the red lighting from the light side and the dark side of the Force, and that was awesome. So having Darth Vader back was so much fun. Having him like really just get to be a villain, carrying on from Rogue One, it's so exciting. If one thing that Disney Star Wars has done right, it's definitely Darth Vader. And then the computer-generated voice of James Earl Jones, that was so impressive, and it sounded so good. Where Mark Hamill's computer-generated voice sounded a little bit robotic, Darth Vader, James Earl Jones' voice really worked in the Obi-Wan show. All that to say, let's talk about this action figure. I'm so excited for it. I think this is going to be the best Darth Vader 3.75 action figure of all time. I think they're like, we need to perfect this and get it out there and give it to the fans. So I thank Hasbro for that. So let's get into this. I got mine from Taiwan at a good price, but this keeps happening to me lately. I'll order things overseas from Europe or Taiwan, and it comes crushed in the mail. So my card was all bent. I tried to flatten it out. The pill was like ripped off a little bit. It just got totally crushed in the mail. There's a little Taiwan sticker. We got VC241. This is the Obi-Wan series. There's Boba Fett from Morak from Mandalorian Season 2. We get Reva. Obi-Wan from the show. Anakin Skywalker from Episode 2. Ahsoka's clone trooper, Din Djarin, in a disguise, Darth Vader, and the Mandalorian Super Commando. For the card, that's a good image. It just looks like a Photoshop image, but it looks fine. This reminds me of an image you would see in one of the Star Wars visual dictionaries. How they just have those posed images in there that aren't from the action of the movie or anything like that. So let's bust this guy open and see if he's the best of all time. I'm hoping he is. Okay, so I can already tell that he's going to be awesome. Let's start with the sculpt and really just go through the sculpt, and then we'll compare him to other figures. So I mean, immediately, like, look at his thighs. His thighs immediately caught my eye. Like, you can see the tone and the muscle inside of his legs and how the cloth is, like, tight. And there's actually, like, shape to his legs. And he just looks strong and muscular. Another second awesome trait is the soft goods. So the Rogue One Vader, which just came out, had the sculpt for his robes. So I did not like it. Any Vader figure that has his bottom robes as plastic. As you can see with the... So here's Rogue One. And I thought this was a cool figure, but I did not like the plastic robes. So I'm really pleased about the soft good cape and the soft good skirt. They did sculpt where this would normally be soft goods in his robe, and it's underneath his shoulder pads. And that's sculpted, and that looks fine, and that's great to me. A really important thing to note, and I think this is the best improvement, is the helmet, guys and girls and whoever's watching. Like, look at how beautiful that looks. That looks just like Darth Vader. It looks asymmetrical, where the Revenge of the Sith vintage collection was symmetrical. So Darth Vader's helmet was always just a little bit off. It was always a little bit asymmetrical, and you can see it in the side here. How this side is just a little bit off from this side. We got the red eyes, which were in episode 4, A New Hope, the original Star Wars film. Like, even the sculpt of the helmet, there's this line that goes down the helmet, and it just looks perfect and beautiful. And that's how Darth Vader should look. And it's also important to note this neck piece here. It never looked sleek, his suit, like in the original Star Wars. You could always see where the neck piece meets the shoulder pads. It always kind of jutted out a little bit. So in previous figures, so here's the episode 3 Darth Vader. The helmet goes down into the shoulder pads, and that's incorrect. It should always bulge out a little bit underneath there, and that's perfect. I have never seen that in a 3.75 figure, so that looks great. The shoulder pads are not sculpted onto the arm. I kind of liked how they did that in the past. This time it's like a little bit loose, so if he moves his arms up, there's a cut there. It's a real soft plastic. The thing that concerns me about this is that it could warp and bend over time if you leave the arm up like that or up for some reason, and I just don't like that. So I did like how they used to sculpt it into the arm. As you can see, this is the episode 3, and that just looks really nice for the shoulder pads. It's sculpted into there. So that looks fine, but it's nice anyhow. The cape is very thick. It's a very thick fabric, which is nice, but there's wrinkles on it, and, you know, his cape always kind of is heavy on the show, and it's supposed to hang over the shoulders. But that's me pulling it down like so. But if I let it go, it kind of bulges out, which isn't a major problem, but you know, it's so small, it doesn't have much weight to it, and the fabric is thick, so that's fine. What else? I'm just so impressed by this helmet. This helmet is beautiful. Let's check out perfect brand new articulation, by the way. That's beautiful. Let's pop this baby off, and it's on a double barbell, so this is like a whole new helmet and sculpt that we have not seen yet, and this is perfection. I want to say, I can't tell if it's the lighting or just the shape itself or the sculpt, but it seems like there is a little bit of gray on this line here. It's painted just so slightly weathered, and I can see it in the mask too. Like the cheekbones, they look painted a little bit. So just the detail, and there's the barbell, and the only thing I wish they would have done is given an alternate head sculpt with the mask off. That would have been nice too, but it's okay. This figure is stunning, absolutely stunning. So let's go on with the articulation. The shoulders go up this high. You can get them really high up, and as I said, this is a real soft plastic. And the shoulder pads have cuts in the back, so you can move the arms up like so. It's limited, and it kind of looks a little bit wonky there, but that's okay. What else? His chest piece looks really nice. We got the green and the red, and just like the nice details. His belt looks really nice. His cod piece is really soft. What else do we have? That's what he looks like from the back underneath the cape. See how the shoulder pads sort of go over the robe. Let's see, how is the torso? So he is on a ball joint on the torso, so that's nice. That was a really nice feature about the Revenge of the Sith, Episode 3 Darth Vader. I don't know if I can pop that off. But yeah, if you can see there, I don't want to force it off. I don't want to mess it up. Let's check out the elbows. Oh yeah, we got more than 90 degrees if you want it. We got the vertical hinges on the wrists, which is beautiful. Nice weapon holding hand hinges. We got the gloves from Rogue One. So those are those Vader gloves. I like how they have the ripples and the ridges versus other Vader gloves. As you can see, they go straight up and down instead of horizontal. So these are vertical lines on the gloves, where I like these nice bubbly horizontal gloves that he has. Let's see what else. Yeah. Now this was the biggest thing for me, are the hips. We finally get the classic T-joint hips. And there you go. Just like the G.I. Joes. Beautiful. And the sculpt looks good. There's a thigh cut in there. And oh, look at the bend on the knees. Wow. And then we got the hinge in the ankle, and then we also have ankle pivot. So this is the ultimate in terms of articulation and sculpt. This is the best looking Darth Vader figure I've ever seen, ever owned. So wow, incredible, incredible. So let's get the other accessories out, and we can look at that more, and then I'll briefly compare him to the other Darth Vader figures. Just amazing. So let's look at the lightsaber. Looks really good. Looks like there's a little bit more detail on there than normal. If you can see the button, or the igniting button, it's painted gold a little bit. So that's a nice touch. There's even the little belt clip on there, right there. So this looks like a new lightsaber sculpt, which is great. Let's see. This is also his force choking hand. I want to note that. He has the fingers pinched like that when he's crushing somebody's larynx. And let's see how he holds the lightsaber. Holds it very nicely. So, very nice. Beautiful. Beautiful. And what else do we get? We get the unignited hilt, which looks really good. And there's a port on there, so you can port it into his belt right here, which is a nice feature as well. So I'm going to put that on there. And that looks really nice. Awesome. So you can have the unignited hilt on his belt as well. And then, last but not least, you get an additional set of hands, which is very exciting. And these are taped in there very good, so I'm going to have to cut them out with a knife. And let's see there. There we go. There's 1 and 2. So, I mean, they just really went all out with this figure, which is so cool. It's so refreshing because he's one of the greatest Star Wars characters of all time. I mean, the entire first 6 movies center on his life and his influence and his impact. So you get a pointing hand, which is awesome. So if you want to have Vader pointing, you can hold the lightsaber in the other hand. And then you also get a fisted hand, where you can just have Vader punch people or hold his fist up and make a really angry fist while pointing at someone, which is great. So just really wonderful dynamic posing you can do with him. Just looks like he's going to a dance party here. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So this is best Darth Vader figure I've ever seen. Truly. This guy is perfect. He's truly perfect. So I like to have him with weapons holding hands. And I'm going to take the pointing hand off, but you have those options, which is incredible. I always like him to have his force choking hand. I like him to have his lightsaber. And you can even... It's just so nice because you can reenact that pose where he ignites his lightsaber and he just kind of holds it down. And it's just awesome. So good looking. Such a good looking figure. So to compare real quick. So originally, this was always my go-to Vader figure. This is the Return of the Jedi figure. It's a really great figure. It's just sloppy. Like, look at how ugly this helmet compares to the new one. Just look at the difference. This just looks so wonky and sloppy looking. Now, the cool thing about the Return of the Jedi Vader, which I always liked, is that you had the removable helmet feature in phases. So you could take the top piece off, and then you could take the bottom piece off to reveal his head. I have some stickum on there because it always falls off his head, so I didn't like that. But this was always my go-to Vader figure. But the articulation suffers. It's just the straight legs. So he has that, and there's no pivot in his ankles either. So he's very not very mobile. So he can't get super dynamic poses. And they always gave him this intensely skinny lightsaber, which doesn't go in his hand very well. And they always kept this hand like very wide open, his choking hand. But this was my go-to Vader figure for a long time. Then they released the Revenge of the Sith Vader figure, and this guy was beautiful. They captured the Hayden Christensen suit very well from Episode 3. Like, he looks fantastic. And they gave him the torso articulation. They gave him a really dynamic head articulation, even though his head falls off very easily. But the problem with this helmet is it's too symmetrical. It's perfectly symmetrical, where the original Vader helmet was not. So it looks slightly different because it is so symmetrical. Where the asymmetry of this helmet, really, it's exactly what it looked like in the films. But for a long time, this was the perfect Darth Vader figure. However, it did have the wide joints and minimal articulation in the bend in the knee. which was bad. It did have the pivot before any of the other Vader figures, which was awesome in the hinge, but it just, and it had a nice dynamic posing range, but it just didn't look like the original trilogy Vader. But this is a very, very awesome Vader figure. And then, of course, the Rogue One Vader, which was awesome and has the red eyes. It does have the really crappy Y-joint legs, which just, like, look at how bad that looks there. You can see that joint. It just looks ugly. And then we had the hard sculpted plastic skirt, which is just no good. So this was a good idea. I mean, and he does have the waist articulation, but it's sculpted over, so you can't really utilize it. So this was a good idea, just executed poorly. And then, so top 2 Vader figures of all time. We got the Vintage Collection Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith Vader. And now we have the brand new Obi-Wan Kenobi Vintage Collection, the Dark Times Vader. I don't think there could be a better Vader figure than this. The only thing they can do now is just give an unmasked head, like different head sculpts, like a battle-damaged head sculpt, and then the Return of the Jedi style. But this guy is perfect, beautiful. I highly recommend this figure. If you are Star Wars collectors, or just have a mild fascination with Darth Vader, like, you got to get this figure. He's stunning. Gorgeous, perfect. It's a perfect figure. So, highly recommend him. If you like the video, please like and subscribe. And God bless you all. Happy 4th of July, everybody. Peace.